welcome to the EMS podcast on the community. This is an idea we had about from our last EMS live session we had on YouTube. This is going to be like a podcast in a more non-formal way, in a way, as far as that can be. All participants here are part of the Discord server, and they just want to like tip in and have a great discussion. So I'm going to try and keep it up non-formal, but that's also hard for me as I'm also new to all of this. So first off, we could just have like a quick uh, introduction of each, actually, to get going. Um, so, Samesh, will you tell me a little bit about yourself and yeah?
Yeah, hi. I'm living in Stockholm, Sweden, and working for Tata Consultancy Services, having around more than 14 years of experience and MVP in enterprise mobility, specialized in mobile devices and Mac OS, and MCT also now for Microsoft Certified Training in M365. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen your blog. Like you have a lot of great blogs going on and on the Intune ERL.com, right?
Yeah, Intune in real life. That's what I thought about calling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, focus area is towards mobile devices mainly.
Yeah, and you helped me with my NDES implementation last time I did my implementation. You reached out to me in private and said, "Hey, Jonas, I know this and that, and maybe that you can work with that and fix your issue." And you actually,
Yeah,
yeah, helped me. So I'm happy about that.
that's what
Thank
the
you so much.
community is. Yeah, the
Yeah, it is.
community.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
because at the same time I was also building my NDS. We were migrating from SHA-1 to SHA-2, and parallel NDS setup because don't wanted to interrupt the existing servers. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? We have this different kind of environment, so our experience can come from different places. I have like a mind with my own like ADFS with ASRAD proxy. I was like, oh, that's not going to
Mm.
work, but it's fast pass through, right? So it doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, okay, so let's just now the flow is already going. That's I'm happy about that. So let's just go with Eric. Hey, Eric, first time meeting you. Uh,
Hey, yeah, first time meeting everyone here, and appreciate the invite, Jonas. So I'm in upstate New York. You have to say upstate, or people think you're in New York City. I live about 3 hours north of the city, though, much more
okay,
by mountains and stuff, and love it. Yeah, just my background. I'm a newly minted security MVP. Focus on Azure Active
congrats.
Directory primarily. Thank you. Um, but yeah, Azure AD, and right now I currently work for Semperis. So we make a Active Directory backup restore product and a ITDR product for Active Directory and Azure AD. But prior to this, I spent some time at Microsoft and also in the partner ecosystem. A lot of ADFS migrations, a lot of password lists. I love password lists. Everyone listening should go password lists. But
Agree.
Amen.
Without being
yeah,
too much marketing, right? Because it is the way to go. Like passwordless is the best thing you can do for yourself and your users and
yeah.
the IT admins. But yeah, thank you, Eric, and welcome to like being a part of this. I'm happy that you joined.
I'm glad
Uh,
to.
yeah. So next one, Lewis, the admin,
Good evening.
the
Hello, everyone.
emoji master.
Yes. Well, I don't have the trait of reacting to my own post just yet. Maybe I'm 5 or 10 years too young to do that.
God.
If I was 35, maybe I'd be doing it. But yeah, so I'm Lewis, and I work for a Bristol and London-based MSP in the UK called Stripe OLT, and I'm a senior cloud engineer there. My days really consist of talking about Intune and Defender for Endpoint all day and showing people the value of those products that it can have for their business. One of the main things that I try and educate people on is getting their help desk away from setting up laptops and just changing that whole process. It's harder than you think. There's a lot of old thinking that needs to be reshaped for the cloud only device management lifestyle. And yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and Lewis, like you are a core part of the community, and you do your admin and you discuss with me and James, and we have our we are trying to like push or nudge the community in the right direction. And yeah, I'm happy that you're here as well.
Yeah, the feedback we've had on this community in just such a short time has been pretty amazing. When we had the ASRmageddon issue, it
Mhm.
became a real highlight for the internet of where to look to fix this issue. And I was talking about it internally with my colleagues, and people were joining, and we've got a couple on there now. And it's just going around the internet, and it really did feel that niche that just wasn't there for a specific community that focuses on modern endpoint management, because there are other bigger ones but don't have such a focus on the bit that we all are here to enjoy.
Yeah, and this is not scripted. We didn't agree on this.
No, it's not good. No, I genuinely like doing it. You'll find me tweeting about it, reading, or doing it all day and night. It's just what I like to do. It's a hobby of mine.
Yeah. Awesome, Lewis. And let's go to the right. That's going to be Andrew.
Hello, I'm Andrew. I'm based in Newcastle in the UK, but work for a London-based MSP as a technical architect. So I kind of plan what we should be doing, ultimately what we can be doing. I'm also an MVP, but not an MCT. And I like in June, mainly on the PowerShell graph side. You can often find me head deep in a script.
And for people that doesn't know Andrew, like I've been following you for a long time. You're also on our last live sessions, or live.
Also,
What should I call it? Yeah, on the live on our YouTube live stream. And you talked about proactive recommendations, right?
Yes, and we had a very unplanned question and answer session.
Yeah, we did. And that's where it all happens, right? All the magic, all the good
Yeah.
stuff happens, like when it's like unplanned and you don't know what you're actually going to say, but you have like your own kind of technology wise of understanding stuff, and it just gets going. Okay, great, Andrew. And you also have a blog, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah?
I do. Yeah, andrewstaylor.com, because someone at
There we
Disney
go.
stole on andrewtaylor.com, rudely.
How rude.
And
I know.
and you also have the newsletter going on.
Yes, my
I've been
weekly
following that.
newsletter. Yeah. It's reaching the point now where I need to start looking at other newsletter systems because they're going to start charging me soon. And I don't want to pay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you,
You gotta do
automated ChatGPT to put it together yet? Because that's the next step, surely.
Can you imagine it? It's been a hopeless mess.
I'm just gonna put someone on the spot. I'll do like Rudy. Just do the advertising all around your blog, right? Yeah. Okay, this is just a funny joke. Wasn't that funny? Okay, great. Okay, next one.
First clip.
Yeah, first clip. James.
Staying in. James Robinson. I'm a principal consultant. Currently work for Power On Platforms. We're a managed service and professional services company here in the UK. And Lewis completely took the wind out of my sails, stealing all of my lines about cloud native and yeah, I can't really say anything else, but just trying to correctly educate and design solutions for customers to get to that kind of dream state that they all have. They've all got the same end goal, which is remove on-prem servers, remove those legacy links. Their timelines might differ slightly, but they've all got the same end goal. So putting sustainable solutions and a pathway in to get to that.
Yeah, and you're also like an admin like Lewis, and you also put a lot of effort into like putting this community in the right direction. And what I want to point out is your, what is it, /HAADJ?
My anti-hybrid domain join command on the server, which is just shamelessly ripped off from the WinAdmins community. So I don't take any specific credit for that one.
What I would say as well, James, is that you're not only the job that you do, it isn't necessarily giving the customer what they think their goal is. Sometimes it's shaking it all up and telling them what their goal should be, especially around the hybrid device management stuff.
I think probably other people in this room have the same goals whenever they're speaking to clients or doing stuff. I think, yeah, not something special. I think we understand the products enough to
Put
know
the phone down if they mention hybrid.
this is the way. Yeah.
Call someone else.
But
thank you.
there's like a reason why we think about hybrid as AT join, right? Because when autopilot came out back in the days, like we can do both, right? So the mindset is there, and we think we can just connect both worlds with deployment. There we go. That was not planned either. That's awesome. But when you connect both worlds back in the days, it was all about connecting people, probably a little bit of a nudge to have people go to the cloud. So I understand that people are still hanging into like a shortcut to go to the cloud with their device identities and put together like a cloud technology like autopilot. But as you know,
I think there's just a lot of misconceptions around the word hybrid, but also a path or a route to the cloud. Like I think everybody in this call would agree that there is a place for hybrid domain joined devices. It's existing devices, and new stuff needs to be cloud native. So yeah, it's resetting people's legacy mindsets, because there's a lot of stuff that goes around that people don't have the time that we do to be deep diving into it every day.
Yeah.
I just add on there. I mean, I definitely think it's a knowledge thing, and the misunderstanding that if you have hybrid identity, right, you're syncing your users, people think you also need to have a hybrid device, and you don't. It's a great stopgap, but definitely new devices, Azure AD join only.
Yeah, and like you also said in the introduction, Eric, you are focusing on the identity. Sorry, SMS. The combining of endpoints and identities, like our hybrid identities and our hybrid device identity. You don't necessarily need to be on the same level, right?
No, it's I mean, I could understand, because when I was a Microsoft customer, I didn't understand the stuff half the time, but right, when you're an IT pro and you have so many things, you're trying to be a SharePoint admin and manage Active Directory and all that, right? But yeah, I think there's the total misconception that it has to be hybrid everything. And I mean, for folks that have done Azure AD join, right, and they still have Active Directory resources, again, not realizing that there's ways to access that stuff, right, with SSO without needing hybrid join. So
yeah, good point. And Samesh, you were also about to tip in about.
I was saying that yes, I agree to James that somewhere we, like when we talk to customers who are still on hybrid environment, again same thing, that hybrid, we think that we have a co-management and something is on cloud and something on premises, that yes, we are hybrid now. But somewhere the customers are still not ready to switch to cloud. They are like, till the time SCCM we see that yes, SCCM is with us and we are parallelly running Intune, we want to stick to hybrid only. Right. The mindset is still that we are not ready to go to we are not ready to go to the pure cloud only, or like pure Azure AD join only.
Yeah, that's a good point. Co-management, right? That's also like part of two worlds. I'm getting really confused right now, James.
Where's James gone?
And then tenant attach confuses it more.
I think a lot of the time as well, and it's just something I've come across, is that the people that you sometimes speak to may be IT managers who've worked internally for a decade, and so they don't have the experience of doing total environment shifts as much as, say, MSP workers do, where it's something you do every single project. So there's that fear of the unknown of them accidentally breaking their environment on something they've never seen before, and they don't necessarily put the time into demo it or see it happen enough to get the confidence to get their internal guys to do it. Which is why things like email migrations are always outsourced to MSPs, right? Because we do it all the time.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there's a lot of hybrid. Also, like when you say about emails, the same with hybrid authentication, right? It's also both ways of doing it. So I understand people are getting confused also with co-management. And so they see it like as a next step all the time, instead of just going from our experience that we know, go to like the end goal almost directly, right? Um, did we lose Eric?
Yes, the scene switched in between, and then something happened.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but hopefully he'll rejoin.
And now
Yeah,
you've
cool.
joined twice, James.
I have multiple sources going. I'm just being
Great. So yeah, we talked about now about a little bit about hybrid and understanding about hybrid and why people are going that way. And it all started about with the /HAADJ hybrid HAG join command. So what I want to put a little bit of focus on is as you probably all know, because you were all part of it, helping each other out, was the ASRmageddon, if I say correctly. Um, what was your experience about how people engage with each other in the Discord server?
It was really good. The response was great. We saw the issue at about 9:30 that morning. There were in my company the messages kind of coming around. We're getting this block. Have you seen it? And it was a point where whenever you see an issue as weird as that, you begin to wonder: is it something that you've done on Intune, or is it something that's happened in Defender? And because no changes were made to the environment, we're like, well, what is causing this issue? And because it was so unexplained, I just hit Discord straight away with, is anyone else seeing this issue? And we were seeing parts of the puzzle. It was, my office has disappeared. Has anyone's Chrome disappeared today? Oh, Sage accounts has disappeared, the shortcuts. It's like, well, what is the thing linking them together? And it was only because we were all in that space. It's shortcuts that are going. Okay, so what's causing the shortcuts to go? Because nothing on Intune would cause that issue. With the understanding of the products we have, it was then a case of just looking through our Defender portals, because we all use Defender. So that's what's those were the blocks and the alerts coming in. And it was quite funny because the end users would try and recreate their shortcuts and it would get marked as malware instantly. And so then it was a bit of a triage incident where the whole community came and said, yeah, this is what's happening. And honestly, the speed at some of those scripts were being made to remediate the issue was just insane. Like within 2 or 3 hours, you had people, I think Rudy was one of the first to get his script out on his website, on his Call for Cloud website. And yeah, it's a really good response.
Yeah, I also follow Twitter a lot, like trying to put in the connection and people's own tip in on the Discord in the general channel. Somewhere, how did you also experience in your day-to-day job, like where you were when it happened?
Yes, I connected with you because of panic. Yeah, suddenly users were saying that the Outlook icon was gone. For us, Edge was not gone, but we recently migrated from a third-party antivirus to Defender. So again, like since we have a co-managed environment, so whenever something happens, the first question comes to me, like being an Intune admin there. Have you done something?
If you don't,
But
yeah.
but
Did
then
you
we
follow the
point towards
procedures?
yeah, but then we point towards the cybersecurity that there is something Defender which could be. But yes, the Discord servers, as like our community, was whenever something happens, we first look towards our community Discord. That yes, there will be something pointed there, and the script that Rudy prepared, and like you as you also highlighted that use that scripts and tools, it saved us eventually. We didn't have to call Microsoft and all those things. Yeah,
Oh, great
but
to
we
hear
were
that.
impacted 2 days after this. It could be that sync took some time or something else.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. Like you have so much knowledge coming in from right or left, and being able to like have those people in the back telling you, "Did you do something wrong?" It puts you on the spot, right? So
Yeah.
it's like okay, ding dong. There we go. The next ASRmageddon is done.
I was so
tempt me again.
relieved when I saw that other people had the same issue, because then I could confirm that it wasn't something I'd done.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think probably quite a lot of admins had the same thoughts that day. Like, thank God it's nothing that I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we
what
have Discord and we know where to look for help now. Yeah, that's the best thing. Community. Yeah.
Yeah, I was also surprised that so many people tipped. And I'm super happy about more. Because like you have Twitter in a flow of troubleshooting. It's doing it proactively. It's not about robotic. You lose the feeling, I will say.
Yeah, I think between Twitter, I think your network's struggling a little bit, but between Twitter and our community and Win admins, it seemed like a live triage of the situation. People were testing stuff, and it was something that I've never experienced before, actually, in any period of time in my career. It's just some like community driven understanding, like root cause analysis, identifying how to try and fix it, like try and stem anything else going on. It was really interesting to just kind of have this live response to something that otherwise would be very difficult to understand. And I'm sure there's a lot of admins out there that aren't members of communities and don't, aren't able to spend time that we do, who really struggled through that, and their only recourse was Microsoft, and they didn't know until a few hours after the community did what was wrong, which was it's just really interesting, I found.
Where were you at the exact moment it happened? Home or job? Or...
I was in a customer call.
Okay,
That's something unrelated. I also don't I don't deal with that sort of stuff in my role, so it was glad that I wasn't on the front line of it.
Yeah,
Sit back and watch.
Yeah. Sit back and assist.
Yeah. Well, looking smug.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I was the same. I don't do support either, so I just sat back going, yeah, this looks bad.
Hate to be dealing with this.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I've done enough virus outbreaks over the years to, I've served my time. Someone else's turn.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a horrible situation for users to lose desktop icons, but it didn't quite have the same urgency as maybe a live incident response on MDE or something. A bunch of alerts triggering that there's some nasty stuff going on.
PC's blue screening every 10 seconds or something.
Fast SSD if it's coming back up that quickly.
Well, yeah.
One of them.
That was what we saw. Our security team were quite quickly pointed out what the things were being blocked. .lnk files, and I was kind of sat there thinking, well, why? I'm not on the security team. I'm just someone who deploys Intune and Defender for Endpoint, and after it's deployed, I hand over because that's not my area of expertise. But I was just sat there thinking, what is it that could cause those to be flagged as malware? And it's not until you were speaking to other people that you realize it's not just us. But then I made a comment on the day that if you've got companies that roll out Defender for Endpoint and they're saying there's absolutely no problem with the product, it means they haven't done their ASR rules properly, or they're very lax with them.
Yeah, I saw your message. It was like a great little like, how do you call it in English? Like a Yeah, I understand your point. I think it's funny because it makes people like it's about security, right? And ASR rules are so important. It's the first filter before anything that really happens on the device. Um, so people not implementing ASR rules, they should probably do it today, right?
Well, that's a conversation maybe for a couple of weeks when the dust settled a bit. I can only
Yeah, right
imagine
now it
bringing it up
is.
today, saying,
Oh,
"Let's turn on
probably, yeah.
ASR." Isn't that the thing that killed all the shortcuts last week? Yeah, let's switch on. Yeah.
It seems to be fine now. But what I would say, and I always say this to customers about the Microsoft suite, is that they provide probably the best tools to do the job, but they don't provide the best people to do the job. That's where they then rely on their partners and your internal teams to go and learn the product. Defender for Endpoint is not a product where you can just onboard an endpoint and then go, right, it's done. You need to spend some serious time understanding what each of the controls do and make the tweaks that suit your customer's environment. Because if you take the zero approach, potentially you're not 100% protected. If you take the full approach, you've done too much, and then users are going to complain when they're trying to do things in Excel or Outlook or those sorts of activities. You've really got to look into this thing before you push it out. I think that's probably why it has such a high barrier of entry compared to other off-the-shelf antivirus products where they pretty much are just run the MSI.
You touched on an interesting point when you were saying what you do in your job, Lewis, about, I'm just the one that deploys Defender for Endpoint. Interesting talking point. Where is the line between endpoint management and security nowadays?
It's getting quite blurry.
And you're
Yeah.
probably addressing the screenshot we made, and I posted in general chat earlier with the blog from Microsoft and with the, what is it called, in the Microsoft security stack portfolio. Yeah, right. So yeah, exactly. So where do you draw the line? That's a good question.
Yeah, because Intune falls under security now, doesn't it, Microsoft? I think.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that concept. I mean, if you've got a lockdown endpoint, you're locking it down for security reasons, aren't you?
It's pretty much, I will say, in my opinion, is that Intune is a core functionality of pretty much hardening your environment, your assets. Without having a management tool for your devices, you're pretty much out in the wild, right? In a banana state.
There's no point having top of line Defender for Endpoint if there's no endpoints to defend, is there?
Exactly. So I think it's really good. I know it's a part of it, right? The portfolio. It's a part of implementing security, hardening. How would you otherwise implement ASR rules? Let me hear.
But Jonas, like for example, this portfolio new one is totally if we are talking about cloud only. Right? For customers, again coming back to hybrid, for example, one of our customer is having this policies deployed through SCCM or through group policies, ATP and ISR policies, EDR. Right. So because Microsoft in this screenshot, like or this picture, they have considered Microsoft Intune only. But if you still consider the environment, the legacy, so-called legacy environment, where still SCCM is there. So where the security comes with, and it comes out. So where does SCCM fits into this thing here? Because it's not easy that companies switch immediately to cloud for managing this identity or security or compliance and privacy.
Maybe it's just marketing, having
just a push towards cloud, that you go towards cloud if you want to have everything in single category.
So I mean, I could think though it's bringing up the point in organizational change, right, where like device people, endpoint people are security people, right? I mean, some might not want to be considered that, but just in the way that your Active Directory people are now security people. And I mean, it's almost like everyone, right? It's a bit cliche that everyone is a security, person or whatnot, but I think in many ways, right, it is true that endpoints and the people that manage them, it's a big part of security, and organizations can't stop sort of saying it's second fiddle. It's not that important, like the way maybe they did a decade or so ago, or even a year ago. But
I think that there's another thing that isn't on that picture, which is users and the importance that they play as your first line of defensive security, which I think is often ignored or understated. If you're not providing your users with all of the relevant, training and understanding of the tools that you're implementing, you might as well not implement them, because if they don't know to not click a stupid link that might happen to get through, Defender for O365, because it's still possible, multi-layers of defense doesn't mean that you're completely protected. But yeah, if your users aren't at least aware, they're going to click that link and let something in, and all you can do is try and stem the damage that might do.
If we look back to when I first started in the IT space, which was only sort of like 7 or 8 years ago, I worked for a company where we had on-prem Active Directory, and really the group policy objects that were in place were not for security, they were for desktop customizations. It's when you see a product like Intune, almost every single blade or menu on it has some mention of security, and it's not I never set out to be a security person, but the platform is making people into that mindset, or getting people into that mindset, because of the remote working, and there's no single network. You can't just protect someone with a firewall now. It has to be the endpoint is managed and they're working from public clouds. It's not just your file server on one network.
Yeah, but surely you full tunnel VPN to ensure security of your users and data, right?
I just publish
sure.
SIFs over the internet, so.
But I think it's a really good point that we also combine it with, like you say, James, with your user awareness. It's so funny when you do this, James, because now you disappeared again. Unsure if you're here. Is he out?
It'd be more amusing if he just started talking.
Now he's back. Okay, cool. Yeah, but it's I understand. Yeah, the thing, we can have all these technologies, but if we don't train our users when you talk about security, so user awareness is probably one of the most important things, right? That's what you were trying to point out, right, James? Yeah. But now when we are at the question about Microsoft Intune, not that it should be Microsoft Intune, the renaming. Should we just address that?
It's always been Intune. I don't know.
Yeah, I never changed to Intune.
No.
I did.
Everyone was going, I've got to update my blogs and stuff. I was like, well, I don't.
I like to follow what they say we should call it. So I was kind of saying, come on, guys, it's Endpoint Manager. And then it was Intune. It's like, it's Intune again. It's Intune. It always was.
Nothing ever changed. Yeah. The only minor annoyance is that I'd created some automation groups that had quite a nice prefix of mem, which has now been messed up by having to rename them Intune, which doesn't have the same ring. But what are you going to do?
Yeah. And I was also Samesh, you're also lucky that your block was Intune, right?
Else I have to buy a new domain or ask for renaming it.
Maybe it's gonna be something that Microsoft will cover, right? Expense, yeah.
Yeah, but the portal is still MEM. We are still waiting to be renamed again.
Yeah, that's right. I always go to the endpoint.microsoft.com.
Don't you surely use the cmd.ms links?
Oh,
yeah, ak.ms. Yeah, I use it. Yeah.
That's a good point. Maybe we can bring that up, James. The CMD.
Yeah, the new ones.
Yeah.
What is that? The GitHub?
CMD.ms.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, it's for Merrill, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the next level up from the MS Portals IO, isn't it? Where you can just have a short string for the correct portal.
There you go. in.cmd.ms takes you straight to Intune.
But I've been using the new.
You can also do it the other way, so you can do cmd.ms/in, I think, because that's how I get to Graph Explorer.
en.cmd.ms. Oh yeah, I see that. But it's pointing to the endpoint, the old URL, right?
Yeah,
From what I can see.
that'll still exist, and I think that's fine because it's where you access your endpoints, isn't it?
The
Yeah.
DMAC one still exists. The old one still exists. DMAC, Device Management Admin Center. So if you type ak.ms/dmac, it still works.
I also saw when I went to the intune.microsoft.com URL, there's some things that are not working correctly.
Yeah, that's still not there yet.
I think we could have another call in its entirety talking about the Microsoft portals.
That's why I live in Graph. I don't have these problems.
How could you possibly get confused about all of these different ways to access similar things?
I'm not confused. They just keep changing the name of them.
Well, you need to embrace Entra now, because that's where everything's going to live for a year and a half.
Yeah, and I know if you've been
change his
there
name
through the
again.
Purview portal.
I'm sure Microsoft's going to hear our hate about rebranding, but yeah, it's a part of the marketing and the strategies that they are probably having on their tables. But it's hard for us as IT pros, or whatever we want to call ourselves, to like manage it in the day-to-day, and it's really confused the talks we have with our customers, right? Just the day-to-day talking, because we use different terms all the time because it's rebranding.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the portals that I have a problem with on that front. It's the licensing, because if Microsoft make a change to the core M365 SKUs, it takes the world a very long time to update internal processes, invoices, all the help desk staff, the number of people who will know the old names. Like, what was it before? It was Essentials, Standard, and Premium, and now it's Basic, Standard, and Premium for the main SKUs. And
here's all of the product name changes that M365 Maps has tracked.
Yeah, I've got most of them in my head.
Fair few of them.
There's not nearly enough defenders in there yet. Give it time.
Look at all of these purviews.
Yeah, that's a lot. But back to you, Lewis. You talked about the different SKUs about the business license, but it's basic, it's apps for business, and it's standard, and it's premium.
So apps for business is only the applications. You don't get anything with that.
Nope.
Yeah,
only applications.
Don't get into it.
I mean, this is quite an interesting point. With these SKUs, are we? Myself personally, I don't recommend anything less than Business Premium there, because it has so many things inside it. I think we're all in agreement that is kind of a good way to go, right?
Business Premium is the minimum. If it had proactive remediations, it would probably be all we need. But
it seems such an arbitrary thing that's missing.
I'm not even sure. Do they not work, or does it just tell you off?
They do work.
Yeah, I thought so.
But you would be
licensed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't use them.
Yeah. Let the MVP say the bad words.
No comment.
It'd be nice. It just made them available.
NDA.
Yeah, it's they are indeed incredibly useful. There's a lot you can do with them, but I suppose they have some back-end impact and on Microsoft services to push them out. Don't know, still seems quite arbitrary.
I mean, it's still good value what you get in that SKU.
Yeah, the fact you get an enhanced Defender for Endpoint license and ADP1 with some extra sprinklings thrown in. It's definitely the best SKU for a sub 300 company.
And web content filtering, that's one that often gets overlooked. Okay, you can only do it to the whole business or nobody, but it's for some businesses that's all they need.
Auto patches are nice to have on the E3 and E5 though.
Still not sold on auto patch.
It's just doing the work for you. What's that to like?
You don't need to do anything if you set your update rings correctly anyway, surely. Just WFB reports, keep track of things, how things are going.
I like the fact that they monitor the update zone. If they spot an issue at one, they'll pause it for you.
But if you have access to the Windows Update for Business deployment service, also gain things like the rollback functionality, and if there's any blocks that need to be put out widely.
Safeguard rules.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Samesh. I'm not anti auto patch. I think for me, the concerning thing when I spoke to a client about it is that their broad ring breached the Cyber Essentials 14 days on a worst case scenario. So that was the only thing, but they are constantly improving and amending the auto patch service. So let's see what extra stuff gets added, I guess.
I was actually just on a sidetrack on my own because I was looking at the price difference from going from Microsoft E3, Microsoft 365 E3 license to a Microsoft E5. And the percent from going from a basic standard, business standard to a premium is in percent in Danish crowns is 76%. But going from a M365 E3 to M365 E5 is 55%. That's also just had that.
They're big jumps, aren't they?
You don't get a lot with an E5 either, do they? Because E3 plus E5 security is better than I think a full E5.
Ooh.
That's go down a track now. Licenses.
What about E5?
Click on the E5.
What the full E5?
Yeah.
We can do a compare against E5 and E3.
There's quite a lot of difference on the compliance stuff.
Actually, do a compare to a
It would
matrix.
be P2. Only 3 features are there, but if you combine E3 plus security, then you get those actually without doing that much.
And what E5 security?
Yeah.
I think those are the wrong ones. You've done Office.
Over 365.
How could you make such a mistake?
It's called not looking.
Being put on the spot with the controls.
Premium.
This website's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Maybe we should put the licenses stuff to side. Actually,
it's
we also get short on time.
It's definitely a session in itself discussing the ins and outs of.
There's not a lot of ticks on the right that aren't on the 2 left ones. So.
You might need double key encryption.
Okay, so the next thing I want to put some focus on is Azure Identity, and it's actually from you, Samesh, because you were just pointing me in the direction of the number matching that is going to happen here soon. Can you tell us, maybe Eric, do you know about the number matching, all of that, and when it's coming out? But as we all know, it's going to be on the February of the 27th. It's going to be the hard cut from going for normal notifications to number matching. Do you guys have any have you guys already put that on the agenda where you are with the people you are talking with? Anyone?
I didn't know if you wanted to jump in there, Samesh, but I'll just say I welcome number matching, and I'm actually glad that I feel like historically Microsoft would have the ramp up time for some of this so drawn out. I know that primarily it's people that have like NPS server with the Azure MFA extension installed that are going to, I think, have some struggles with it, but I haven't even really looked at the details with that. But I think it's definitely welcome, just because, right? Like, it'd be interesting because I'd have a lot of customers where we would push them away from push notifications because of MFA fatigue. And they just would get bombarded until they'd hit yes, and then they're breached. So I thought it's been great to see, and I know it's a change for our end users. I think probably the struggle, right, are organizations that don't communicate well with their end users. Having a difficult time not being able to control the timeline as to when they're going to roll it out, but.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So we now have to like put it on the agenda, because it is going to be. I don't know what is going to happen if people haven't moved, but I'm just hoping
I can pitch in here. So what we have discussed and what we have seen here, because there are a couple of things for the users who are already MFA enabled or MFA enforced. So right now we, like for example, if you get a push notifications where you approved in facial unlock and biometrics. So going further, what we understand because we have already enabled this feature for a few of users which we are testing. And if, for example, if you are passwordless already, so, or if even though you are not passwordless, if you are MFA enabled, if you enable the number matching, you will on the screen, for example, on laptop, you type your username UPN, and you will see that number. And on Authenticator app on your device, you have to enter that number. If the number mismatch, then you will get another that send new notification. But the users who are not MFA enabled right now, it won't be impacted for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good point.
Challenge here is again with platform that what I have tested it. For example, on iOS, it works perfectly fine because devices are smarter, devices are fast. Now, imagine someone who is.
You say devices are smarter, devices are fast. Did I just hear that? Okay, cool.
Because I'm comparing it with Android now. So imagine.
Okay. Don't go there so much.
Imagine an old Android phone, and then the user base. Okay, my Authenticator app is opening. I'm unlocking through biometrics, and then the number prompt comes. So yes, it is a hard cut, but it is challenging actually.
Mine's working okay on Android. I've got number matching. It pops up and just asks for the number.
Yeah, we've had it for a long time. It's working fine.
Yeah. Another one here. I don't know if it's, is it old Android phones that you're having issues with? Yeah.
Yeah, and again, user education is the main challenge here.
Yeah, but we need to like I'm sure that we all agree on this. We need to embrace every device, right? Whatever platform you are on, we just need to adapt and have the technology in place for embracing all the technologies. But not going into the Android versus iOS. I wanna stay in that identity track, and I also want Eric, because you reached out about the ADFS. I know Microsoft is also putting a lot of attention on ADFS to Azure AD migration, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's great to see. I know that I think at this point, if you have a custom attribute store in ADFS, right, that you're sort of the outlier for migrations. And but I had some state and local government customers that were certificate based, who were sort of looking at FIDO2, but they had some challenges there. So having certificate based auth in Azure AD has really helped put the nail in the ADFS coffin for a lot of folks. I don't know. I managed ADFS. I always thought it was like a black box. Even, helping people translate, claims rules and everything is, it's just, it's so much easier to use Azure AD, especially if you don't understand all the ins and outs of SAML. And I love seeing the support from the broader group, but sorry.
Yeah, I can put it's okay. I can put myself on the spot. I haven't used that much time on ADFS, to be honest. My time was with the Azure AD authentication, so that's where my expertise is and my knowledge. So I only learned about ADFS as a secondary tool, but the ADFS claims, right? In my head, that's directly mapping to conditional access, if I'm correct.
Some of them are. So you have you could write claims to transform things or send groups or attributes, and then there was also, depending on what version of ADFS, there were authorization policies, which were essentially like junk conditional access, because they'd only evaluate upon authentication. But I think just right, like the effort into managing an ADFS infrastructure, right? Your farm, you need multiple Windows servers, you need multiple WAP servers. If it's a geographically dispersed company, right? You're going to need like some DNS load balancing on top of all that, and it can get complicated. But I mean, I know luckily the Azure AD Connect Health, I think, is great for helping IT pros understand what's going on within ADFS, but still, right? I think the only holdout are organizations that don't trust, putting their passwords in the cloud, which is a whole sort of different conversation.
But it's back to like the device identities, right? With hybrid Azure AD join.
Yeah.
This is over in the user identity lane. Like it's the same ADFS Azure AD, right? So it's the same. We're still on the same, like trying to keep people to go to Azure AD. How do we get the best? And James, you put it on the web here for the great PMs. I think it's the workshops they're gonna be. We have Mark on this call as well. He is a big advocate for these one. I also participate in one of them. They're great. But yeah, like how is it in your guys' environments? Do you also still have ADFS? Do you have Azure AD? Where are you? Where are you at? Where are you? Did I just say a funny word there? Just to end up
ADFS.
our podcast here.
No ADFS here.
No ADFS.
No, Azure AD.
Yeah,
ADFS. Yeah.
Azure AD only.
Did you say ADFS? Sebastian?
No,
You still have ADFS.
Yes.
Can you, without putting any like, can put you on the spot now? Is there like a particular reason for it, without being too precise?
Mindset.
Is it mindset? Okay, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
the challenges, yes. So the reason is like again the legacy bind up to many systems, many application. It's thinking of going to cloud only, but bind it to many legacy things. That's hold up there.
Okay.
And have you trialed, because there's obviously the ability within Azure AD now to do like a staged rollout, and as long as you've got password hash sync, like has there been testing done to see what works, what doesn't, like, or is it really
All thing tested, PT and everything we have in our system in our place, but it's like because of certain legacy things we are binded to, and but we have plans to move towards pure AD, remove our footprints from on-prem, and go towards cloud, adopt autopilot as soon as we can. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I think because there's a sort of two-pronged issue, because you'd see customers who rolled out ADFS because they had concerns around passwords in the cloud, and then other customers who work with somewhere they have hundreds and hundreds of applications tied to ADFS, and right, so their challenge is wanting to migrate all those to Azure AD before they actually flip their tenant to managed auth, right? And depending on the org, right? If you have SSO set up in certain ways, or you can sort of minimize the end user sort of impact of having essentially two identity providers. But yeah, lots of different permutations that can hold folks up.
Every environment's going to have its different challenges, right?
yeah.
No environment's the same.
I think the main challenge is geographical spread here because of, as Eric was also saying, that multiple servers, multiple DCs are spread across different locations across the globe. For us also, it's not easy to move everything to cloud so easily.
It all comes back to the end user experience, right? When you see a lot of people rolling out MFA, how many times have you seen them explicitly tell the end users, if it's not you that's signing in, do not approve the prompt? Because I feel like a lot of the Microsoft documentation doesn't actually mention that. It's just MFA is great, turn it on. Okay, well now my phone does this thing, and I have to push this to go on. Do I do this if it happens when I'm driving? Do I just click the button, tap the screen, and just carry on? I feel that is always a bit of MFA that's lacking. That's why I kind of doubt it saves 99.9% of breaches, because there are going to be more people that just tap yes to everything that comes on their screen.
That's number matching is right, the thing that solves that. But also, Lewis, you shouldn't be looking at your phone while you're driving.
That's right.
Only approved.
Okay. I would never do that. Just for the record. When I'm on the bus, when someone else is driving.
Also, the thing is that it's on the topic as well as like an authenticator app for Apple Watches. Like, oh god, stop. Okay, but
You've gone down the Apple and Android route again, haven't you?
It feels like we should be making a note of things for the next podcast, because
yeah, and without being like, let's wrap it up. Let's like, this is what was our first podcast. I think it was like really fun. It's nice having you all here. Like, glad to see you all. Hope you also felt it was nice. And how should we close it out? I have no exit talk. Welcome to our podcast. Oh no, that's one thing.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
I could just cut to a dodgy video and turn everyone off.
Yeah.
We all just hang up at the same time and leave it running for an hour. See how many people stay on for repeat.
Just cut to the video of Stevie Ballmer jumping around the stage.
Okay, guys.
Are we trying to make this a monthly thing, or we gonna try and have some sort of consistency to this as much as possible?
Committed. Guys, this is gonna be a monthly thing that we're gonna be.
You're all now legally obligated to be here.
I like being like in a conversation like we are right now. Like, we're thinking about what we're talking about because we know it's being recorded, but also in a way that the discussion, open-minded discussion about technologies is actually pretty fun. So I think we should like arrange the next step, and just to put some kind of advertisement out there, is that on the 13th of April we're going to have Microsoft EMS Community Event Summit at Microsoft headquarters. So if you want to participate, you should just go into a Discord and click interested on our new awesome invite link that is going to be discord.gg/MS EMS, and I'm going to put all of us on our YouTube description when we're going to put it out there, and because this is not anything at all without the members and the community people. So thank you all for being a part of this podcast, and see you next time. Cut.
Thank you.